So this is going to be part one of a two-part set of videos explaining some of the parts of Canadian culture. So first of all, what is culture? Culture is the traditions, the ways of life, beliefs, values, and the laws for a group of people. Every culture has its own ways of life. Some things are very similar around the world, and other things vary greatly. So, the first thing we're going to look at is the etiquette, beliefs, and behavior considered part of Canadian culture. Canadians are known for their politeness. It is often said that Canadian people apologize for things that are not even their fault. So you may have noticed that if you accidentally bump into someone, they might say, "Oh, sorry," even though it was not their fault. Canadians are known for being quite informal in most situations, except when attending social events or work in some cases. We tend to wear rather informal clothing. We also do things like call each other by first name, even our elders, and sometimes even our teachers and bosses. Canadians are also generally peace-loving people, and most of us don't see weapons as a necessary part of life. We also dislike confrontation and prefer to work through issues in a calm, quiet manner. Another thing you may have noticed is that Canadians are kind, generous, and helpful, but like their space and privacy. Walking into another's home without notice, for example, is not considered normal in our culture. You have probably also noticed that Canada doesn't run on a class system. We don't associate only with people in a particular class or consider wealthier, meaning richer people, or those from powerful families better than others. Canada is a secular country, and Canadian people follow a set of laws that are unrelated to religion. So, in other words, our legal system, our laws and policies are not based on any particular religion. Canadians are usually punctual and consider time very valuable. Punctual, meaning we are on time. If there is a meeting scheduled at 10 o'clock, we like to arrive at 5 minutes before 10. We do not like to be late or when others are late. Last, human rights are very important to Canadians and are taken for granted by most of us who grew up here. Injustices are generally not tolerated, and efforts are made to ensure all people have a decent quality of life. So, taken for granted means most of us who grew up here don't even think about it. We don't often take time to consider how lucky we are for the human rights we have. It's just normal to us. It's expected here. Religion in Canada. Freedom of religion is one of our rights in Canada. All people have the right to practice any religion or no religion at all. Christianity is the most common religion here, but there are places of worship for many other religions as well. You will find Jewish synagogues, Islamic mosques, Hindu temples, and a variety of others. 25%, or a quarter of Canadians, have no specific religious affiliation, meaning they have general beliefs about God or no religious beliefs at all. And this is completely acceptable here. Also, blasphemy, which means speaking badly about a religious figure, is not illegal here. Freedom of speech is our right as long as no threats are made. So blasphemy is a crime in some countries. People cannot say anything negative about a religious figure. In Canada, it is your right to speak as you like, as long as you are not threatening anyone. Family in Canada. Several kinds of families are considered normal in Canada. The majority of families, meaning most families, are still heterosexual, man and woman, married couples with 1 or 2 children. 18% of families are couples living common law, which means living together and involved in a serious relationship, but not married. It is normal for common law couples to have children. So living together either before marriage or without a plan of getting married at all is quite common in Canada. Single parent families account for about 16.5% of families. Same-sex marriage has been legal in Canada since 2005. Many people support this law, though some people still don't agree with it. As time passes, more and more people have learned to accept it and show respect for these relationships. So because it is legal in Canada, you don't necessarily have to agree with it, but you do have to accept it because it is legal and part of our culture. Slightly less than half of marriages end in divorce. Though divorces are not usually ideal and can cause a lot of pain, they are not considered shameful or disgraceful anymore. The average number of children that a woman in Canada gives birth to is 1.5. So of course, we are not having 1.5 babies, but if we take the average number per woman, we reach the number 1.5. Families have gotten smaller over time, and some couples choose not to have any children, which is completely acceptable. Most women work outside the home and don't want to take many years off to care for babies. It's also expensive to raise children, and many families want to ensure that they can afford to enroll their children in sports and activities, travel with them, and put them through university. Also, because we are relatively private people, we don't ask for help from the community to raise our children. So I know in some cultures where it's common to have many children, they receive a lot of help from neighbors, family, and community. In Canada, that's typically not the case. We spend most of the time raising our own children, and so it's difficult to have a large number of them. In 2016, which is the latest statistical data that I could find, the average age of a first-time mother was 30 years old. So as we know, in the past, it was much younger. In many countries, it's much younger. In Canada, the age continues to go up. And the average age of marriage for both men and women is in the early 30s. Gender equality. Gender meaning male, female. So Canadian laws apply to men and women equally in all situations. Canada scores high on the list of countries with great gender equality, but there are a few things that we still need to work on. So first, domestic violence, meaning violence within the family, often between a husband and wife, is still an issue that needs to improve. But it is not tolerated in any case. In other words, it is still a problem here. It is still happening, but the Canadian law does not tolerate it. It is illegal. If the police are made aware of domestic violence, it will be investigated. And Canadians are encouraged to report any domestic violence that they witness. It is not considered a family issue that should stay within the family. So I've been told that in many countries, if you witness abuse, domestic violence, you just look the other way because that is a matter for the family to deal with. In Canada, that is not the belief. We are encouraged to intervene, to call the police because it is against the law. Also, sexual assault is also still a problem, often suffered by women at the hands of men they know or are in a relationship with. Even if a couple is in a relationship or married, men can't force themselves on a woman, ever. Over 90% of sexual abuse and assault is against women and girls. 90% is against females, which of course means 10% is against boys or men, which is also never okay and should also be reported. And again, just take note that it is taken seriously and it will be investigated if a married woman reports her husband for sexual assault. He does not have that right to overpower her or push himself on her if she has said no. Okay, and related to the workforce, men and women both work outside the home, and higher education is considered equally important for males and females. Both men and women have professional, well-respected jobs here. However, men still hold the majority of high-level positions and leadership roles. So this is something that Canada is still working to improve. Women are now getting higher level positions, and it's being encouraged in many workplaces. Okay, and some good things that Canada does well in relationship to gender equality. Thankfully, there are no laws that prohibit, means that stop women from doing things without the consent of her husband or male guardian in Canada. These kind of laws completely go against gender equality. Here, women are free to come and go as they please, get health care whenever needed, apply for a passport, drive, etc. Men are not considered keepers of women, but rather equals. And in the case of marriage or another relationship, the two people are partners. And therefore, one does not have the right to control the other. So as we know, both partners, but specifically women, cannot be kept in the house, cannot be forced to ask their husband for permission to leave, to go to the doctor, or to do anything for that matter. Women and men are completely equal and free to do as they please. And last, another good thing about gender equality in Canada, baby boys and baby girls are considered equal in worth. People are generally delighted or extremely happy to have either a new daughter or a new son. People in Canada don't abort baby girls because they have less value than boys. And a man would certainly not divorce his wife here if she gave birth to daughters, but not sons. Gender equality is a core value for most Canadians and one that should be adopted by all Canadian citizens. Even in cases where a person's home country allows male dominance, this will not be permitted here. Okay, so let's just do a very quick review. So regarding behavior and etiquette, Canadians are very polite, helpful, and kind. But we also like our privacy and personal space. We do not work on a class system. We do not base our laws on religion. We consider time to be valuable. And we very much value human rights for all people. In reference to religion, people are free to choose any religion in Canada or to choose to have no religion at all. There are places of worship for a variety of religious groups here. Family in Canada, the most common is still married man and woman with one or two children. However, it is becoming more common to have common law relationships, meaning living together without being married. And these couples often have children together. We do have quite a number of single parent families as well. And we have same-sex couples who can be legally married. The divorce rate is quite high, just over 40%, I believe. So though it's not what we hope for, people who are divorced are not considered bad people. It's not something that is shameful anymore. Families are getting smaller as time goes by. So now the average number of children per woman is 1.5. Some of that is related to more and more women working outside the home. Also, it is expensive to raise children here. Now, most first-time mothers are around 30 years old, and that is increasing with time. And most people are in their early 30s when they get married. Regarding gender equality, the laws apply to men and women completely equally. Canada is a good country related to gender equality. We are still, however, hoping to bring the number down related to domestic violence, assaults, sexual assaults, and hopefully in the future, women will hold more leadership roles. We do not have any type of guardianship laws. Husbands do not have any control over their wives. Women are free to come and go, to have access to bank accounts, to access services, and to travel as they please. And there is no noted difference in the value we place on boys or girls. People, for the most part, are equally excited to have a new daughter as a new son. Gender equality is extremely important to Canadians. It's one of our core values and one we hope will be adopted by all new Canadian citizens. And that is the end of part 1. I hope you learned a few things about Canadian culture. Part 2 contains some less serious topics, for example, food and sport. So I hope you will watch that one as well. Thank you for watching.